Good morning from Childress Vineyards. This is grape month, so we're out here pulling samples and checking on reds and finishing up whites on harvest. We've been in whites, finishing up our hybrids, getting all that stuff harvested and turned into the winery. Now we're checking sugars and whatnot in our reds and trying to figure out how long they can hang, and looking at the weather, trying to see what rain patterns are going to happen, see how long they can hang and how much we're going to be able to do and how much quality we're going to be able to get out of this year.
So what we have here is called a destemmer crusher. And when the grapes come in, the grapes are dumped into this hopper in the top, and then they're fed very slowly through, and then there's a little stainless steel auger that meters out the grapes at a certain speed. Then they fold into this, and this is mounted horizontally on here. And this spins really, really rapidly. And so when it goes through, there's a series of arms in the center, and the grapes fall into it and get thrown to the outside with centrifugal force. So because it's spinning, it's shooting the grapes to the outside. So the grapes find their ways through these little holes, and the beaters on the inside remove the stem, so it knocks the berry off the stem. And because the stem is not round, it can't make its way through those holes. And then the stems all come out this end. So it's amazing. You just sit here and watch it, and stems are falling out, and grapes go in clusters, and then stems fall out here. So it separates that out. Otherwise, we'd have to pick all those grapes off. And next time you're in the store and you buy table grapes, because everybody likes to buy table grapes to eat, pick off a little bit of stem and put it in your mouth and chew it for just 1 second. You'll know right away why we remove those stems, because they're really bitter, very bitter. And the grapes, almost 25% of the grapes at this point is sugar, so we want to retain all that sugar, get rid of that bitterness. So then the grapes fall out with centrifugal force. They're thrown out. Of course, this is covered, so they fall back down. And then this wiper is rotating in the opposite direction, so it's pulling them back this way, and then they fall down. And if you look down in here, you see this series of rollers. And this is just 2 rollers that are rolled against each other in this direction. And we separate that distance in between based on the grape we're doing, because all grapes are different sizes depending on the variety of the grapes. And they fall down in there, and then we do is just squeeze it a little bit. And we call it crushing. It really doesn't crush, it's called a crusher. And all it does is break the skin of the grape, so that when it goes through this 4-inch hose into the press, it dejuices. So with the grape, all we have to do is squeeze it a little bit, and it pops the grape. So it's very, very gentle. So destemmer, crusher, and then they kind of get mixed up a little bit as they go through that hose. They go into the press, and then you saw in the beginning where the press is just rotating. So about 80% of all the juice comes out of that without any pressure at all. So it just goes in there and rotates, and you saw the juice just pouring out. And it goes through to the hopper, and then we pump it inside. So 80% of the juice is extracted with no pressure at all. It's very, very simple. And then the rest we kind of squeeze and release and squeeze and release. And you hear it building up pressure now. It'll build up a little pressure and hold its pressure. And each time it does that over a 2.5-hour process, it gets every little bit of juice out of there. So a ton of grapes will yield us anywhere between 180 and 200 gallons. So for every ton of grapes, it's quite a bit. So this morning, 5 tons will fill up a 1,000-gallon tank. This needle is going to go, it's inflating now, squeezing. So what we have now is you want this needle to go all the way up to about 1.5 bars. So when people talk about pressing grapes, they're not talking about really, really squeezing them hard. They're talking about very, very gentle squeezing. So it squeezes very, very lightly, then it releases, then it mixes, the big drum rotates, then it squeezes a little bit more, and then it releases, and then it rotates. It's all done with air pressure. So it's a very, very gentle process. And you'll be able to see in a second some juice will start to come out of this little tube right here as the pressure is increased. This is a grape called Traminette, and this is a cross between Seyval Blanc and a German variety called Gewürztraminer. And Gewürz means spice in German, so it's really aromatic, really kind of spicy grape. And so we got a lot of people in Yakima Valley growing it. So you can see now the juice is starting to come out here. So as the pressure increases, the juice starts to come out. So it's a very gentle extraction of the juice out of the grape. Because we don't want to be really, really harsh. If we get really, really harsh, it increases the pH. And if the pH goes up, you get bitterness. So we found all these different ways to do it. Very, very gently pressing it. And of course, everything is kept really clean. Everything's made out of stainless steel, so it's very, very hygienic. And it's easy to clean because the acidity in the grape juice and the sugar really wears on the equipment. So it's all made out of stainless steel for that reason. So what you have coming out of here is pure grape juice. Very sweet grape juice. And so people view wine, really there are a few food products that are kind of viewed the same. And I would say it's wine, cheese, and honey. And they're very natural products. Nothing is added, there are no additives, it's all natural sugar, natural acidity. And then Mother Nature provides the yeast that eats the sugar and turns it into alcohol. And by having a little bit of alcohol in around 12%, it has a huge aging potential. So you can put it in the bottle, and unlike almost any other food, you can bring it out in 10 years or 15 years and it's still very, very drinkable. So it's really kind of a unique product. Now you see the juice coming out heavier and heavier each time as that pressure increases. So the juice, immediately when it comes out, it comes into contact with air. And then what happened with oxygen is that the juice loses a positive charge. So it wants to create this balance, so it's trying to find somewhere where it gets a positive charge, so it pulls it out of the air. And it's very similar to if you take an apple and you slice an apple in half. See, it hit high pressure and stop. And if you take an apple and slice an apple in half, within a few minutes the apple starts to brown. And that's called enzymatic oxidation or polyphenol oxidase. And so the wine does that, or the juice does that. And we want that to happen with the juice so it doesn't happen with the wine later on. So it gets a little bit of brown, and then that brown color falls out during fermentation. So just, again, 100% natural product. And you know from, most people know from eating grapes or eating table grapes, they're very juicy, as opposed to a lot of other fruits, which have a lot more pulp in them. If you think about peaches or apples or watermelon, they're really pulpy. Where grapes are, it's easy to extract the juice. It wants to come out. And that's what we have, 2020 harvest. We got beautiful sunshine, we got long days, we got cool nights, and it's a really, really important time of year for us. I mean, this is it. This is Christmas for us. So this cycle is about a little over 2 hours, about 2.5 hour cycle. Slowly increasing the pressure each time, squeezing, and you can hear it's going to release the pressure soon, so it's going to get loud. It releases the pressure. So you just hear this all day, just juice coming out. And then it goes through this little bit of a screen, and then we have an automatic pump, and it pumps it through this overhead pipe right inside two refrigerated tanks. And by the time we go home tonight, after this is all done and this is all dumped and cleaned, the juice will be down to 40 degrees. Nice and cold, and then it settles, and all that pulp that's mixed in there, any kind of that sediment, will fall to the bottom by weight. So gravity just lets it all settle to the bottom. And then we'll wait 2 days, we'll pump the clear juice off the top, ferment that, and we're on our way.
Just ran a brick sample here on the Traminette. We're at 18 bricks, which, based on the year's conditions, it was time to go ahead and bring it in. We shoot for 20s, but sometimes weather, climatic conditions kind of dictate all that. So went ahead and brought in the whites. Just thankful to have any grapes this year due to the struggles of frost and excessive rain and things like that. So yeah, we're pressing the Traminette now, and we'll get it in here, we'll chill it down, we'll settle it for a week, and then we'll rack it off, and we'll start working towards fermenting it.